good news on both sides of the Atlantic led to financial markets in both those areas increasing significantly overnight. Looking at the US first, industrial output for the US was up around 0.4% in September. This is pretty good given that most expectations were around a 0.2% increase. This also goes some way to reducing the slump which occurred in the previous month. Also, there were some good earnings out of Johnson & Johnson and Goldman Sachs which reinforced that positive investor sentiment. In terms of the other side of the Atlantic, German investor confidence increased for about the fourth month running, and that's on the basis of the European Central Bank intervention in terms of buying those European government bonds and hopefully containing that European debt crisis. Also, the euro being relatively weak is also showing up now in the books of Greece, Spain and of course Italy. Effectively, their export results were significantly better than expected, and that's hopefully going to allow them to balance their books better going forward. So looking at the markets then, the Dow was up by more than 100 points, and European markets also saw significant gains. In terms of the currencies, the Kiwi was actually down against the US, mainly because of that increased sentiment in terms of the US, but also because of the CPI data which actually showed, and prompting speculation, that in fact we will see an OCR cut in terms of New Zealand. Results from the overnight global dairy trade auction showed a resurgence from the last sale. Viewers will recall in the last sale that the prices for the All Products Index fell by around 0.9%. However, in last night's auction, the prices for the All Products Index increased by around 1.8%. This is particularly good when it's considered that more than 50,000 tonnes of product was sold. The average sale price was around $3,400 US. This is still significantly under the peak, but is actually beginning to climb back to levels last seen in around April. In terms of the gainers, whole milk powder continued its resurgence, and also we saw buttermilk powder prices increase as well. On the downside of the ledger though, we saw a continued runoff in terms of the price of anhydrous milk fat, and we also saw a significant drop in terms of the price of cheddar, falling by more than 10% from the last sale. Given that the barn side in terms of dairy products is relatively flat, the speculation is that these prices have been driven upwards by the events in the US. Of course, that ongoing drought is very concerning and causing significant problems for US farmers. There has been significant numbers of dairy cattle going to slaughter, as well as the fact that the feed to payout ratio is slumping, which means it's very difficult now to actually justify putting more feed in for more milk production. In terms of these increases of the dairy trade, the farmers in New Zealand will be hoping that this trend continues, particularly given the recent revision downwards by Fonterra of its farm gate estimate for the current year.